Winter is coming, and the landscape continues to change. The Lion and the Rose. You may remember last time I had said that there were a number of things that I really wanted to see start getting shaken up because I either felt they'd been stagnant for a little while or I wasn't loving with the direction they were going. Well, you know what? Pretty big shakeup by the end of this episode. Unfortunately, this being spoiler free, I can't talk too much about this, which actually makes this a little bit of a difficult one to do a review on, but I'll do the best I can. We can start with what's going on north of the wall. I'm getting really interested with where they're going with Bran and how his abilities as a warg and whatever else is going on with him is really starting to eat away at him and really give him this drive and this determination that we haven't really seen with the character before. He's just sort of been there. You always felt like they're gonna do something with him eventually. Well, they're really starting to do it now. We touch base once again with Theon Greyjoy, who thankfully is no longer being tortured, but we are seeing the really serious damage that has resulted for what he's been through. And it's clearly not just about the physical mutilation that he endured last season. This guy is beyond damaged at this point. But you can still see just underneath all the beaten down and just ready to give up, there's this little spark of something that is, you just get the feeling it's waiting for the right moment to lash out again, and I like seeing that. I'm not making the call that that's actually what'll happen because trying to predict where this show's going is a fool's errand, but it's just the vibe I get off the character and I like it. We finally get a little bit of time with Ramsay Snow doing something aside from torturing Theon, and we get a little bit of his dynamic with Lord Bolton. Now it's interesting watching because before our main point of reference for a father and a bastard son was Eddard Stark and Jon Snow. And what Lord Bolton and Ramsay have going on, definitely very different. Lord Bolton sees this guy as a wild dog that he's kind of stuck with. Stannis Baratheon may be headed in an interesting place. I'm getting the feel of him that he's starting to question his faith a little bit and question his goals and whether or not he's actually being supported by the Lord of Light. There's nothing blatant about it, it's just a feeling I'm getting, and it's a feeling that intrigues me. We spent a little more time with his wife, who actually may be more fanatical than he ever was, which is a bit of an odd dynamic, but an interesting one. But of course, the majority of this episode is spent at King's Landing as we get ready for the royal wedding. Joffrey and Margaery, and the wedding takes up the vast majority of the runtime. And you know, in terms of the scope and scale of the show, it's a fairly low-key event, all things considered, but it's very telling, and it's nice that the show slows down for this more sort of subdued main set piece, but it's still telling you so much about the characters and about the tension that's building and already been built between so many of them. I'm feeling increased sympathy towards Jaime Lannister, and it's building off sort of the insight we got into him at the end of last season. Because prior to that, you had just gotten used to him sort of owning the Kingslayer label, but then you realize he doesn't really want that, but he's stuck with it, so he made the option, I'm gonna own this. But now, with his fighting hand gone, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. Like the role that he had chosen to embrace, because what else could he do, has kind of been taken from him, and you feel a bit bad for him, and it's giving him extra depth and extra layers. Joffrey, the reigning douche of all time in this episode, particularly when it comes to Tyrion. And remember how I said I wanted to see a bit of a shakeup with Tyrion? Well, by the end, it looks like he's going to be in a new situation starting next episode, and that should be interesting. I really feel like there isn't all that much more I can safely talk about. It was a good episode, just moving everything in a really interesting direction and giving you better insight into areas where that insight feels useful. Really, the only thing I complain about is that romantic angle with Bran and Tarth and Jaime is resurfacing again, so I didn't imagine it. It is there and it's been confirmed rather solidly. Again, maybe never gets consummated. I kind of hope. I just wish it wasn't there at all. But that's the only thing in this episode I could possibly complain about. It's a good episode, and for longtime viewers, longtime fans, what happens at the end of this episode is going to be cathartic, and just that alone is going to make this a fan favorite episode. So I'm going to ask this question. For those of you who have seen the episode, who do you think is responsible for the events that happen at the end of this episode? Because there's a number of possibilities for who's behind that. Who do you think? Drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. I only want to deal in theory, though. If you've read the books and you know for certain what the deal is, please don't tell me. But until next time, this council is adjourned.